Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating journey to explore the biological mechanics behind our very best ideas. We're going to break down the exact science of human creativity, figure out how it ticks, and, most importantly, learn how we can harness it. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're talking about the 3-pound engine that quite literally drives all of human civilization, the brain. I mean, sure, insects might outnumber us 1,000,000,000 to 1, but we humans have totally dominated the globe in a completely unique way. And why is that? Because we're essentially Homo innovaticus. We're a species that is uniquely driven and biologically hardwired to invent, adapt, and just completely transform our environment.
But, this brings up a massive question. Where do our best ideas actually come from? Seriously, think about it. Is creativity just random luck? Just some magical spark that hits you out of nowhere? Or is there a physical, biological process happening right there behind your eyes? Well, today we're going to look under the hood of the brain to find the exact answer to that question. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the roots of human innovation, then we'll look at the 2 paths to creative genius. Next up, we'll cover the power of idle minds and finding your state of flow, before we finally cast our eyes to the future with AI and the innovation horizon.
All right, Section 1, the roots of human innovation. Think about how we transitioned from primitive survival to building these massive, technologically advanced civilizations. If you look at human history, there's this incredibly long, almost entirely flat line stretching across millennia. For the vast majority of our history, population and technological progress basically didn't move. But then, boom, suddenly an exponential spike, driven by massive shifts, from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution, right up to mapping the human genome. And this incredible acceleration, it's entirely driven by our unique cognitive ability to imagine really high-level abstract concepts. We don't just react to the world around us. We mentally simulate things that don't even exist yet.
And this famous quote really hits the nail on the head. As Einstein pointed out, logic will get you strictly from point A to point B. But imagination, our brain's ability to use high-level abstraction, to combine existing knowledge into completely new ideas, that takes us everywhere. It is the absolute core ingredient of all revolutionary technology.
Moving right along to Section 2, 2 paths to creative genius. Okay, so we really need to debunk a common myth here. A lot of us think of creativity as this lone genius, hunched over a desk, furiously working away. But true creativity, it's actually a pendulum, swinging back and forth between 2 very different neural states. On one side, we have spontaneous creativity, which is governed by what we call the default mode network. Surprisingly, this network becomes highly active when we're at rest, basically allowing our minds to wander and generate wild, free-flowing ideas. But on the flip side, we have deliberate creativity, driven by the central executive network. This is the network that fires up when we really lock in and focus, allowing us to evaluate, refine, and actually execute those wild ideas. True genius absolutely requires a dynamic interplay between both of these states. Let's ground this in a little bit of brain anatomy. Regions like the parietal cortex and the precuneus work together with the hippocampus, which is deeply, deeply involved in your memory. During spontaneous thought, the hippocampus pulls up past memories, and these other brain regions combine them in totally novel ways to build complex simulations of the future. It's wild to think about, but your brain is literally mixing the past to invent the future. Which brings us to Section 3, the power of idle minds. So now that we know about the default mode network, how do we practically optimize our brain's spontaneous creativity in our day-to-day lives? Well, I really want you to remember these highly actionable takeaways. The 3 B's of spontaneous creativity: bed, bath, and bus. I mean, why do so many eureka moments happen in the shower, or right as you're drifting off to sleep, or just staring out the window of a train? It's because stepping away from active problem solving actively turns off your central executive network and fires up that default mode network. This lets your brain freely associate without any boundaries, effortlessly connecting ideas to deliver those sudden brilliant flashes of insight. But there is a catch here, and it brings us to a really vital point. Your imagination is bound by your memory. Because your brain creates new ideas by stitching together existing memories and experiences, you literally cannot imagine with ingredients you don't possess. So to be truly innovative, you have to constantly broaden your horizons. Read widely, experience diverse cultures, learn about subjects way outside your normal profession. These diverse experiences are the raw fuel you need for spontaneous innovation. All right, let's jump into section 4, finding your state of flow.
Now we're going to swing that pendulum right back from total relaxation to intense, deliberate focus. Because let's be real, an idea is only as good as our ability to actually execute it. So the crucial point is understanding flow. Flow is a state of such intense, immersive focus on a complex task that your self-awareness literally fades away and your perception of time completely distorts. When you enter a state of flow, you fully engage that central executive network. All your neural pathways align to tackle a specific, difficult challenge, completely blocking out all external distractions.
A classic and honestly kind of hilarious example of this is Archimedes. He was tasked with determining if a king's crown was pure gold without damaging it, and he struggled immensely with it. The actual breakthrough came when he took a bath, right? Engaging his spontaneous creativity. But he was in such a deep state of flow regarding this physics problem that when he finally solved it by observing water displacement, he famously jumped right out and ran naked through the streets of Syracuse, shouting, "Eureka!" Now, that is the raw power of mixing spontaneous insight with an intense state of flow. And finally, Section 5, AI and the Innovation Horizon. We've talked pretty deeply about our biological brains today, but here's a provocative question for you. Will artificial intelligence outpace human creativity? It's a huge question. For a long time, we just assumed AI would only ever handle rigid logic, while art and imagination would remain strictly human territory. But today, machine learning algorithms are actually beginning to mimic the very cognitive, abstract functions that make us Homo innovaticus in the first place. To put that into perspective, modern deep learning systems now utilize over 100 layers in their artificial neural networks. 100. That depth vastly exceeds the layer architecture of our own biological brains. And while our biology relies on really slow evolutionary changes across generations, these digital networks can iterate, evolve, and essentially clone themselves almost instantly. And that incredible depth allows AI to take action in some truly astonishing ways today. It's writing original poetry in mere seconds. Through reinforcement learning, where the AI is basically driven to maximize a reward, systems built by cutting-edge companies have successfully reduced massive data center cooling costs by a staggering 40%. They're solving complex environmental puzzles that totally baffled human engineers. AI is mastering highly abstract, strategic environments at speeds we can honestly hardly comprehend. This exponential growth is charting a pretty startling path. We've gone from the Industrial Revolution in the 1850s to our current deep learning era, leading us toward the year 2045. That's the year many futurists predict will hit the technological singularity, a point where artificial intelligence creates a runaway intelligence explosion, and technological growth becomes completely autonomous, irreversible, and incomprehensibly fast. So as we wrap up this explainer, we're really left with a lingering thought. Have our incredible biological brains, the exact same brains that gave us fire, agriculture, and the moon landing, now created the ultimate tool to solve global crises like climate change? Or have we actually engineered the very mechanism of our own obsolescence? The pendulum of human creativity has swung us into an entirely new era, and it's up to us to decide where it lands next. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and whatever you do, keep broadening those horizons.